brand new episode of Private Parts with me, Liv Bentley. This is the podcast where nothing is off limits. Make sure you subscribe and follow us wherever it is that you get your podcasts, and you can watch each glorious episode on our YouTube, which is at Private Parts Pod. Today, I got a very special guest, and she is the editor of Closer magazine. It's Katie Banks. I'm buzzing for this because I want to know all the gossip.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, well, thanks for coming on. Right, let's start from the beginning. How long have you been a journalist?
I've been a journalist for ages, probably about 2 decades. So I started off as a junior reporter and then just sort of worked my way up to being the editor.
And where did you start?
I actually started in the glossy monthly magazines.
Right.
So it was quite cool. I entered a competition to become an intern and went down to London, started in one of the big fashion mags. And yeah, it was a bit like Devil Wears Prada back then.
Really?
But yeah, times have changed. It's not really like that now.
Well, no, I know, because now you hear it's more just like sitting on TikTok getting stories there. But in the beginning, why was it what interested you in journalism?
Well, I just thought it was such a fun career. You get to meet lots of different people from all different backgrounds, different stories. And I love the idea of sort of breaking news stories and getting out there and seeing what was going on and going to these amazing events. Like, I've been very lucky to get to go to some really glamorous do's.
Who was like the first big celeb that you met?
I'm trying to think who was the first big one. I met Michelle Pfeiffer. I used to
Oh my God, stunning. She's amazing.
I do love her. I've got to say, Grease 2 is still one of my favourite films. I don't think I've ever got over that. But I used to do red carpet interviews. It's one of my first gigs as a showbiz journalist. So I've met Ben Stiller, Michelle Pfeiffer, Angelina Jolie.
God, really famous people.
So you meet really big people on these red carpets, but you just get 5 minutes with them. But you do get to see them as they actually are, which is quite bizarre after you've just been used to seeing them kind of in films or in like mags.
Would you get nervous interviewing them?
I think at the beginning it was quite nerve-wracking, especially when you meet people that you really admire or you've think are really great. But I think you just get used to it. And the more people you meet, even A-listers, the more you realise that people are just people.
Yeah.
And they're just normal people at the end of the day. They've got the same problems as everyone else. And it's quite refreshing, actually, when you get to know them. And there are some people I've known for years and you just kind of see how their story kind of develops.
Yeah. When you like do those quick interviews, do you prep specific questions that you ask? Like, do you ask all the same questions to the same people, or do you think of like something specific that's gone on in their life that you then want to question them on?
I guess what you always start with is what they're promoting at the time. So if they're in a massive movie, you'll start talking about that, or if they've written a book. But I think for our magazine, what we really love is the nitty-gritty goss. So you've got to somehow steer the conversation into relationships, I don't know, travels, whatever they're really doing or they've been in the headlines for. You want to know what's next.
Would you say that's the biggest thing is relationship stuff? When it comes to press, like, is that the one thing that the majority of people really want to read about?
I think there is something that is addictive about finding out about people's relationships.
What is it? We're all just nosy fuckers,
I don't know.
we?
I think it's like an age-old tale. Like, even Chaucer was obsessed with it, in medieval times. We haven't changed as people. I think that people are obsessed with people getting together or people splitting up. It's just sort of such a big part of human life. And I think when you see your idols or celebrities doing it, people are fascinated.
And especially when they're like, it sounds awful, but when there's like massive, messy divorces.
Sadly, I think the messy splits, it's a bit car crash, but people love watching like the sort of war that goes on between couples and what's going to happen.
Some of them are monumental. It's almost like, you remember that, what was that photo of Nicole Kidman after she finally signed the divorce papers with Tom Cruise and she's like laughing and smiling down the street? Do you remember that one? What do you think is the biggest divorce story you've ever written about?
Well, I think one that's still waging and has been waging for absolute years is Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, okay. Actually, can we talk about this? So what is going on?
Well, I think what she did, and I might be wrong on this, but what I get the impression is she sold her half of their vineyard that they share together in France.
Is it Maribel? Is it Maribel or Maribel? It's one of them. I used to neck it. Yeah, it was delicious rosé.
Yeah, I think it's really good rosé. But she sold her half of the property to a Russian that she knew Brad probably wouldn't get on with.
Right.
And I think that was the last thing that was holding them together, and they're still at war over it.
Because that's gone on for years now, though.
I mean, it can go on for years and years, these wars. So, I mean...
Okay, so then when did you become the chief editor of Closer?
So I've been the editor for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But I've been at Closer for a while, and I've sort of worked my way up while I've been there. But I really enjoy it. I mean, there's so many perks to the job.
And is it always showbiz?
Well, I actually work across showbiz, real life, and online. So I work across all of it, and lifestyle. So we have quite a big fashion part to the mag as well.
I just want to ask you some gossipy stuff just because of current things that are going on at the moment. I want to know about like back in the day with the after parties and meeting celebs in that environment. Was it just completely mental?
I think back in the day, there was much more access. I think now everything is much more controlled. So I used to have a party column where I was a bit of a 3 a.m. girl for magazines. Yeah. And my job was to crash A-list parties and try and come back with the hottest gossip. So probably one of my biggest crashes was I managed to get into Kate Moss's private birthday party.
Unbelievable.
Where she was having this crazy karaoke party in a bar.
Yeah.
And when I walked in and I got through about 5 rounds of security, she was there in the middle of the room with a microphone singing Ziggy Stardust and doing a David Bowie impression.
Oh my God.
And this was slightly before the days that everyone used to get their phone out and record everything. So I just remember seeing it and thinking, wow, this is incredible. And then I think I spent most of the party talking to Simon Cowell and Philip Green, who was also there.
Oh my God, niche crew.
It was a really niche crew, but I have to say Simon Cowell is one of the most charming celebrities out there. Yeah, he is really charming.
Do you think journalism back then, because that sounds like, you know, now because of the phone situation, and I, like, having been slightly washed up reality star, have met a few other people in the sort of like world who are very nervous of anything because of how everything gets photographed. In terms of like writing things back then to now with evidence, how does it actually work? Like back then, if you were to write a story on someone, how would you verify a lot of the stuff? Was it purely from interviewing those celebs?
It is a bit like the Wild West in a way with social media. It can be quite crazy. And also, we're finding that more and more just normal people sitting in bars are breaking news. So this recent story with Olivia Attwood and Pete Wicks kissing in the bar, I think somebody was just sitting there and just took a photo. And so they probably just thought they were going for a nice drink. Yeah. But I think now anybody out there can just whip out a phone.
I find it odd, if I'm really honest with you. Like, I think it's odd to sit at dinner and like my instant reaction if I saw like a celeb would not be to take a photograph. I wouldn't be like that. But it's interesting that other people, like,
so has someone done it to you when you've been in a bar?
No, yeah, I had it with Lewis Bloor. I dated Lewis Bloor who was on Tower years ago, and I'm not being funny. I'd never seen this footage. As I was sitting there, this article came out by The Sun, and it was as if the person who'd filmed it was having the drink with us. But I don't remember any of this. They were miles away, and they just filmed us sitting having a drink. I mean, I'm a nobody, and like it was so odd. And I was like, I don't remember any of that whatsoever. But people go mad about it.
But what I find is quite interesting is people are now almost getting their own exclusives who aren't journalists. They're just people fascinated by a celebrity. And also there's all these documentaries on Netflix now about people who are like these sofa sleuths who are actually solving real life crimes because they become obsessed with it.
But it's quite what do you actually think about it?
Well, in some ways it propels stories forward because celebrities themselves break stories on their own Instagrams. And then you've got just normal people who are recording things or adding to like news out there. But I suppose it's completely different because in some ways it gives more access. Yeah. And then in other ways, rather than doing an interview, a celebrity might just post a video talking to camera for a reel. So it's like a double-edged sword, but...
I would imagine, because it would be an odd one. And actually the way social media is now, I think what's not concerning, but we were talking about this earlier, there's a sweet man in Palm Beach called Palm Beach Pete who looks identical to Jeffrey Epstein. Anyway, someone filmed him and they were like, Jeffrey Epstein's alive. And I'm not being funny, it was my For You page was covered in it. And then obviously so for a week people are going, he's alive. 10 minutes later, he's actually not alive and it's just a look-alike. But it is quite mental, the power of social media, when it comes to different stories about people.
I mean, that would be very unfortunate if you look like Jeffrey Epstein.
Really unfortunate. Apparently, he was mates with him, though. So then the story's weirder. But it is quite odd. And then the other thing as well that I was going to ask is AI. Because I have anxiety that shit's going to come out about me for no reason, because I actually live a really happy, wholesome life now. And so I think, if anything did happen, I could just blame AI and just say it was that. You know, like the deep fake stuff. You could though, couldn't you, realistically?
I mean, I think the whole AI thing is moving so fast.
Yeah.
That we don't know where it's going to end up in the end. I mean, it's already writing articles and coming up with images, everything itself. It's generating its own sort of content. But I think still with AI, there is a problem that it's not always factually correct.
Well, this is the thing.
I think we're not just going to give the job over to computers because...
Yeah. I hope we don't. We could AI me doing the podcast.
And also, I think
in Spanish.
Also, I think the rapport you have in interviews, which you can get with celebs or whatever you're doing, you know, you can't recreate that. You can't recreate that human interaction.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to wipe out necessarily the job, but it's going to change the whole landscape again, like social media has. It's going to be a new leap forward.
Have you noticed not a drop in sales, I suppose, but do you think people are still reading magazines and downloading news apps because of things like TikTok and Instagram, when you could just find things out pretty sharpish?
I think they are. I mean, I think the swiping culture is also really exhausting.
Yeah.
I feel quite overwhelmed after a day of having to listen to messages, look at news online. And I do feel there's still something really amazing about opening a magazine, having half an hour to yourself, turn the screen off.
Yeah.
And I think it has a lot of appeal as well for people who are going traveling, maybe getting on a flight.
My favourite thing to do at Heathrow Airport. Are you joking? I sound like a wanker saying Heathrow. It could be Luton. Go straight in and get a load of magazines. When they used to have the perfume bin in, and rub it all over you. You know, that tiny little sachet. No, I still really like magazines. But I don't know. It's an interesting one, because I wonder as well, I
mean, I think there have been loads of family fallouts over... But I mean, if you look at the Beckham situation at the moment...
Well, this is a whole part 2, let me tell you. We'll deep dive into this, but yeah.
But that is a public outing that Brooklyn did on his family. So in a way, instead of... I mean, he could have been a source and leaked it to a paper and just done it anonymously.
Yeah.
But that's another maybe factor of this social media, that people are...
trying to own their own narrative.
Owning their own narrative and putting out there themselves. So he did something that was quite shocking and he knew would trigger an absolute barrage of coverage.
Well, I'm like, do you think it was worth doing that?
Well, obviously he thought it was. He wanted to make the point, I think, that he felt upset and insecure about the actions of his parents previously.
Have you seen the video of Victoria twerking at the wedding?
I'm desperate to get my hands on it.
Desperate to get my hands on it.
Who can we get? Who would be at that wedding? Fat Tony was there.
Yeah, but the AI versions going around are honestly hilarious. It's really unacceptable. What is the latest update with the Beckhams?
So the latest update that we've heard is that obviously Nicola and Brooklyn were attending Elton John's Oscars party.
Yeah.
And there was a photo of Elton talking to them, looking quite serious. And a lot of people are saying that he's very close to Victoria and David, and he was trying to act as a bit of an intermediary.
Yeah.
Because he would love Victoria and Brooklyn to be talking again.
I wonder, do you think it will help?
Well, I think Elton John's come to the rescue with loads of celebs, so I'm hoping that
Because it would be really sad, actually, for that to be to break, I don't know.
It's really sad, and it's sad in any situation where someone has a family fallout. So
because it's like the Gordon Ramsay's daughter and the boyfriend's family. That was major news.
And it's so strange because the Ramsays and Beckhams are so close.
Yeah.
So they've both almost been through the same thing.
Yeah. What's your view on Nepo babies?
I'm really fascinated by them.
I'm really fascinated by them too. And I don't know why or what it is.
The one I really like at the moment is Apple Paltrow.
Oh, yeah. I saw that. She was at a dance or something.
She recently hit back because there were claims that she'd been a bit of a mean girl at her college where she was in a sorority. And she said that wasn't true, and she's going to be a model now. And she was rummaging through Gwyneth's incredible wardrobe.
And that really? Do you in honest opinion, do you think there's a lot of celebs kids out there who obviously have done a lot better, but quite literally have fuck all talent. But they've got to where they are because of who their parents are. It's an awful thing to say, but like, I'll be honest, at the time when Brooklyn Beckham released his photography book, I was the photographer and I thought, you fucking taking the piss with that book. I know it's a weird thing to say.
So you haven't got it as a coffee table book in your house?
Certainly not. I'm still waiting to make mine. I decided to sell lube instead, and I'm certainly not a nepo baby. But yeah, do you think do you think it bodes well for certain people or not, or it just causes more upset amongst people who have genuine talent but they just don't have that leg ahead?
I think it's quite hard for the nepo babies because it's difficult for them to just have a normal career where they just have a normal job, because everyone will always associate them with their really famous parent. I did go to a party recently and I ended up talking to Damien Hurley.
Oh my God.
And I am a bit fascinated by him because he looks so much like Liz.
He's like beautiful.
He's so beautiful in real life.
Yeah.
And I was speaking to him and he was talking about wanting to be a director and how he's just directed Liz in a movie.
I mean, to have your mum as Liz Hurley, like, sorry, sweet cheeks, could you star in this one for me? I mean, it'd be amazing.
But I just think good luck to him. I mean, I don't think he's going to go and work in Starbucks.
No. Because I am friends with Lottie Moss, and I think that I remember having conversations with her about it, and she was like, there's so much pressure being Kate Moss's sister.
I can imagine.
Which would be so hard. Have you ever met someone, interviewed them and thought, fuck, they weren't great?
I can't name names because I think I could get in trouble.
Yeah.
But I think I did interview someone very famous for a charity, and I could tell during the interview that they really didn't want to be there.
I don't.
And it got really awkward. So I basically said to her, do you think there's any point carrying on the interview?
Really?
And she said no. And so I said, okay, that's fine. And I just left. And then when I got back to the office, she called me on the phone.
Yeah.
And she said, I want to do it all over again because I was just in a really bad mood. And
What? But at that point,
I didn't quite know what to do because, yeah, we had to almost start again. And I think sometimes, I mean, it rarely happens because I have to say most of the celebs I interview are absolutely brilliant and really professional and really friendly. There's just the odd occasion that I think you catch them at a bad moment. And we all have bad moments. So there's always a time where you get off a flight or you haven't eaten or whatever it is.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask the fan favourites because they always seem to be, like, looking at closer now, okay, Brianne is always in the papers.
Rianne Sugden was a page 3 girl.
Page 3 girl. And Vanna Gay. Katie Price is a fan favourite. Anything currently going on?
So I've known Katie for about 20 years.
Yeah.
Because as a junior reporter, one of my first jobs was I was on a press trip in Ibiza. And I was staying out there. The office called me and they said, you're not going to come home from Ibiza because Katie Price has just split up with Peter Andre and she's on a flight out to Ibiza.
Oh my God.
We're going to move you into her hotel and you're going to spend the week with her as she goes on her sort of revenge holiday.
Oh my God. What was that like?
So it was probably one of the maddest jobs I've ever done.
Really?
But they had a photographer who was pretending to be my boyfriend.
Wait, hang on. So you just basically hung out with her, not saying you were a journalist.
So what happened was I got to the hotel she was staying in.
Yeah.
And I jumped into the pool with a bikini and I had the photographer boyfriend with me. We just met. So we're hanging out in the pool.
This is hilarious.
And then she came through the gates. It was called the SBV Hotel in Ibiza. She came through the gates and she was like, oh, hi. And she saw me in the pool. And because I'd interviewed her so many times, I think she recognized me, but she didn't recognize me as a journo.
Yeah.
And she started talking to me immediately.
Slagging off Peter.
Well, I can't go into that.
Oh.
But yeah, and then she was basically like, you two can come along like any of the nights, whatever. We're going to have a massive party.
A journalist's dream.
But yeah, it was quite wild
Really?
and quite crazy. Yeah, it was lots of dancing on tables, lots of, late nights. But by the end of like night 7, I was turning green and I was on...
Get me home.
I was on the phone to my mom and I was like, I need to get out of here.
So, but you know when you say you spend the week with her, were you just like hanging out with her and what were you like?
All the journalists, I didn't hang out with her like every single night, but all the journos were all in the same hotel. And I think she sort of knew that a lot of the people were journos, but didn't really care at that point because I think she probably just really wanted the coverage because she was going out in these like skimpy sort of gold like hot pant outfits and just going completely wild. And yeah, she was a massive larger than life character back then. So she absolutely loved attention. She said afterwards that Pete's always been the love of her life. So I think it's just like maybe a massive reaction to that. I don't know. But since then, it's funny. I've known her like through the years, done various interviews with her. And yeah, the latest is that she's gone to Dubai, even though obviously advised not to go there right now.
Yeah. I think it's the last place everyone should be going, if I'm honest.
She's saying this new guy is the love of her life.
For her, I hope it is.
I mean, I think he has been...
He's notoriously known for something else.
I think he might be a notorious...
I'm not up with the gossip on majority of things at the moment, which I should be. But why is he so negatively seen in the press? He's done something dodgy?
I think he's known as a sort of notorious con artist.
Really? Do you feel like celebs potentially at the moment are not scared of things coming out, but think they're trying to beat journalists to the punch by admitting to things so it looks like it's come from them before it's written about them?
I think so. I think it's a way of owning the narrative.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're about to be rumbled and you're nervous about something, the best thing you could possibly do is put it out with your spin on it.
Yeah. Because I was going to ask you about this. So, you know, like with the Maura and Danny kiss situation, would it have been better for more Danny actually to say, because he didn't really say something for a while, did he? Because I think a lot of things when people, my view, and hopefully it never happens to me, is that if I had been caught doing something, I would rather take initiative, and not take initiative, but I would rather just like fess up to it and apologise on my social media. Although, having said that, agents tend to advise you to say nothing, which I always don't know. I never know which is right or wrong in that.
I don't know. Sometimes when you say nothing, the attention goes and people forget about it.
Or it gets hyped up.
Or people can be more intrigued because they're thinking, why haven't they said anything? I mean, the Beckhams, for instance, haven't done a formal reply to Brooklyn's post about sort of wanting them to stop contacting him.
Do you think they will, though?
I don't think so, no. Not now, because I think time's lapsed and it would be odd for something to come out now.
Yeah. But in the UK, have there been any big court cases that you've been able to go in and watch?
No, I never went to... I don't know if you were allowed into the Agatha Christie case. Yeah. But I have to say, I'm a massive fan of Colleen Rooney.
I am too.
And I was so impressed with how she rumbled.
I think it was
Becky
amazing.
Vardy. I met her quite recently, and she's another one I've seen like through the years and followed the story. But I just think she's such a feisty, hilarious character. I think she holds her own. I think she started in the shadow of Wayne. He was the main character. He was the big footballer.
Yeah.
But I think Colleen is it's
brilliant.
All
about the wags now. That's the only one everyone cares about, what they're wearing, what they're doing.
But she was also part of that original WAG culture, which was so brilliant, involving, I mean, this was brilliant for the magazines. Posh, Cheryl Cole, when she was with Ashley, Ellen Rivas, I think, was with Frank Lampard. But they used to go on these massive, like, kind of nights out while the guys were playing in these tournaments, and they go completely crazy.
Maybe I should be a WAG.
I think you'd make a really good one. Who would you want to go out with, though? Are there any hot single footballers?
Well, this is the thing, I don't watch football. So
maybe you can take a crash course.
Yeah, on the Hit Up Chelsea. I don't think I've ever watched a football game in my life. The Royals. Let's finish on this. I've never really been a royalist, and that's a weird thing to say. I don't know if I'm not invested in it. However, because of all the stuff to do with Meghan and Harry and all that stuff, and Meghan's interviews with Oprah, it's kind of become more of a sort of like, the royals have become showbiz rather than the royals, if that makes sense. What is your like view on all of it, any of it? Like, what do you think is going to ultimately happen with Meghan and Harry?
Well, I think it's really interesting. I think at the moment there's this massive move for them to come back to the UK. It's sort of been put out there that Harry's people are meeting with Charles's. There's been behind the scenes meetings. And I think in a way they want to pave the way back to them becoming more involved in the royal family. So they're planning this Australian tour, which is out in the press at the moment.
Yeah.
It's a bit controversial because there's an Australian campaign to make them pay for their own security, because people are getting annoyed at the idea that taxpayers' money will be funding this Australian campaign. But I think the more they do of stuff like that, I mean, that's almost like a royal tour. It's almost like they're operating as royals still without being under the umbrella of the royal family.
But are they doing it for publicity, or are they doing it because they want to do it?
Well, I mean, there's so much out there at the moment with Netflix having burnt their bridges with Meghan and Harry, and what's going to happen with their sort of showbiz career. So I think if that's floundering, the path that's kind of presenting themselves is back to the royal family. But then you've got all these other issues with that, in that Wills and Kate definitely don't want them back.
Yeah.
There's a massive kind of wedge between those guys now. And I don't really think they'll ever forgive them for those interviews they did on Oprah, for Harry's book Spare, where he was claiming that they had some crazy argument and he pushed Wills into a dog bowl.
No,
I mean...
I find it all a little bit... I don't know how to word this correctly, but it seems almost like it got such a low level that you can't really come back from it, considering they're the royals. Do you know what I mean? It's not like they're the Beckhams, they're the royal family.
It does feel that the royals have become slightly soap opera.
Yeah.
But I think the one saving grace is that the person that never puts their foot wrong is Kate.
Yeah.
And I think probably she's got enough gravitas to rise above the whole thing and still hold the royals firm with sort of that idealized view of them. I mean, she's amazing. She was really open about her cancer battle and really inspired loads of people. She's a really warm, lovely, genuine person. And I just think that she's the future of the royal family, because she's relatable, yet she's also, you know, keeping her head held high, and she's this glamorous, amazing figurehead as well as being a real person.
Yeah, and I actually think for Meghan it would be such a tough act to follow. But I
can't imagine them being sister-in-laws again, standing on the balcony.
No, I want to know what was the beef about the what was it to do with the bridesmaid's dress? Is that when it all started? You know that Meghan wanted Kate to wear something, and then she didn't want to, or something changed.
I think Meghan wanted Kate's daughter, Charlotte, to wear tights. No, she didn't want her to wear tights with the bridesmaid's dress because she thought it looked bad.
Right.
And Kate didn't want, obviously, a child to not wear tights, because I don't think she wanted her to feel like worried about anything on the day. And then I think she sort of claimed that there was a big feud and Kate never apologized. And I think she was implying that Kate made her cry on her wedding day. And I just, but like many of the claims that have been made by Harry and Meghan, I think it's like the Queen said, recollections may vary.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think of Meghan Markle?
I think she is incredibly entertaining.
That's probably
I think she's absolute close to gold, because she is someone who, you know, does exactly what she wants. We've all seen the cookery show.
I'm sorry, it was one of the worst things I've ever watched, but I had to watch it. I kept going, and I was like, it's so like...
If you don't have 5 hours to make a rainbow salad,
No. And then the notes, I was like, if my mother would never write a note in my lunchbox, love you. It would be like, eat your fucking food. No, my mother wouldn't put that. But like, it was a bit...
I liked her going to meet the random beekeeper. And she was like, are those bees? I love them.
But do you think she watched it back and thought, God, I look a bit ridiculous?
I think she had the final edit and thought it looked really good.
This is the other thing I've realised, by the way. On sort of shows and reality shows, all the main stars in them are the main producers in them. So they're kind of losing like the sort of spice that shows used to have when I suppose... listen, I was at the mercy of someone else's edit for a long time, and I wish I'd had control of the certain things that I said and didn't. But does it not sort of... slightly does dumb down the way... Do you know what I mean? Like when you're doing a documentary on a family, but then the main family member is the producer on it.
Yeah, I think that criticism's been levelled at quite a few of the Netflix shows. So the Gordon Ramsay documentary recently, Then there's been the Beckhams.
Yeah, the Victoria Beckham one.
And also there's a Molly May documentary on Prime, which is very heavily controlled by Molly. But I feel as a journalist, it's quite frustrating watching them because you just want to get these burning questions out. And there's obvious topics that everyone wants to hear. And they're very carefully glossed over.
Yeah.
I just think they could be way more hard-hitting.
Yeah.
But then we all love watching the glossy lifestyle and looking at their kitchens and just the basic stuff as well.
Yeah, there's like the element of nosiness, but then there's like, actually, what the fuck happened with Tommy? Tell us everything. Yeah, no, I'm kind of with you. I'm trying to think of the last thing I watched that I was like, God, that was quite shocking. Because even like we were just saying this before, that I cannot bear to say his name. HS Tiki Toki. That I can't. Manosphere. Even that wasn't as aggressive. I know the one, I don't want to slag off Channel 4, but the Bonnie Blue documentary. Did you watch it? She borderline came across well, and I was like, hang on a minute. Like,
you're starting to like her.
Yeah, but she looks like quite a good businesswoman, and you're like, hang on a minute, you're here knobbing 100,000 men.
I mean, I think she's worth absolute gazillions now.
Yeah. She's pregnant on spring break. She's not actually pregnant, is she?
I think she'd be perfect for the Private Parts podcast.
I just don't know if I could. I just don't know if I could keep a straight face with her. I don't know what to ask her.
But then I think it's becoming a multimillionaire at what cost? So
well, this is the thing. We had a girl on, not a journalist. She was more of a documentarian, and she was saying she met a girl who, that was my shoe by the way, who sold her virginity for £2 million. And I personally, firstly at 18, what the fuck are you doing with £2 million? Sorry, Jess, I saw you there.
Is that going to Hawaii or something?
Yeah, but like my view on OnlyFans, I can't quite figure out. I appreciate there are single mothers out there who need to make money. It's quick, easy money. Like I am aware of all of that, but I just don't know. Maybe it's a moral thing, how right it really is, or that girls view their bodies in a way as just money makers from a really young age. Like I think it's incredibly sad.
I mean, it is interesting because OnlyFans is so massive at the moment that a lot of celebrities run an OnlyFans account alongside doing just normal stuff. But I think they would say, if you pose the question to them, that actually they're instilling confidence because they're in control of it. They're really proud of their bodies and they don't think anything's wrong with it. But I mean, again, would you want your daughter to be making money from an OnlyFans account rather than...
Personally, no.
Yeah.
I don't even want my kids to watch fucking Made in Chelsea, let me tell you. And I was pretty tame on that. Were they all... So was it really the way... Because of another few, not documentaries, dramas that they've shown on the way they all met and how that all went down. Was it actually like that in real life?
So I think that lots of people have pinned on the fact that Kate was like obsessed with going to St Andrews to sort of date Wills.
Yeah.
But I have to say, having met her, I think she's really like a genuine person and she doesn't come across as having a massive scheme in the back of her head.
Yeah.
And I think in the early days before they were together, I think he really pursued her because I remember when they were first at St Andrews, I was walking to a lecture and I saw this beautiful girl walking towards me and she looked absolutely stunning. She was wearing a hockey kit with pulled up socks and this like long flowing hair like sort of Pocahontas with all the makeup as well, even though she's going to a sports match with a hockey stick. And I heard some guys wolf whistling from the other side of the road.
Oh my God.
So I looked over and I was like, who is doing that? It was William and a friend of his.
Oh my God.
And they weren't together at that point, but obviously they were, it was a joke.
Yeah.
But I think, they had a very normal, funny like relationship from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was any of this kind of setup. It was just, it naturally unfolded, I think, for them.
But where, with the setup stuff, where did that come from? Who started that sort of like angle with it all?
I don't know. I think people always thought that Carol was a bit of a Mrs. Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, where she had these two really beautiful daughters and wanted to like maneuver them into like key positions.
Yeah. No, don't. My dad's like Mrs. Bennet, actually.
Is she?
I'm one of 5. Yeah. Oh no, my father's trying to marry us all off.
So which prince are you going to get?
Do you think the Queen would be rolling in her grave with this stuff? She'd be horrified.
I mean, I
surely.
think that he was her favourite son.
But this is what actually on this, because you hear this, but was she aware of this sort of perversion side of things?
I mean, I think I have no idea how aware she was when it first all started. Because obviously at the beginning it was low scale and it was just sort of like rumours, but obviously there must have been people in the palace that knew about it.
I'd love to know the NDAs people in that palace have to sign.
But I think as it's grown into such a huge case and Andrew's been arrested, then obviously the royal family had to take very serious action really quickly.
Do you think this is just the beginning of a whole bigger thing, or do you think the majority of it has all come out now?
I've got no idea, because no one could have predicted that something so horrific would have happened in the royal family. I think if you'd told someone 5 years beforehand that there would have been this huge scandal, I think it's hard to believe, because there's been lots of royal scandals, but I don't think anything on this level.
It doesn't touch the sides with this.
I mean, yeah. So I think more than ever, it makes people want to look to a different type of royal family. So I think the one that probably Kate and Will's will be bringing to the table, which I think is going to be a lot more inclusive, a lot more relatable. I don't think we're going to be seeing royals sort of like kept away behind closed doors. They make themselves, I think, as much as they can, like out and about, accessible to people. I think that's the only way it can survive.
Yeah.
Whereas I think with Andrew, you don't get the impression that he was ever sort of relatable.
Well, also, he was sort of pretty fucking useless, wasn't he? Okay, right. Let's talk about every iconic person, all the big icons that you met, starting with Dolly Parton.
So Dolly Parton was probably my favourite interview ever.
Really?
I felt so lucky to meet someone so incredible. She's obviously the queen of country music, but she's also a huge philanthropist, and she does so much, and she's such a warm, kind person. And I did get really nervous before the interview, because I went to Nashville, and she has a studio lot right next to her mega estate.
Yeah.
Because she does all her filming from Nashville. So if anyone wants her to go on the Letterman show or whatever, they just recreate it in her studio.
Amazing.
She doesn't travel
That's
as much.
That's the next level of fame, isn't it?
I mean, can you imagine having a massive aircraft hangar studio that's just yours permanently running 24 hours?
Let's hope this podcast does well.
So I did get quite nervous because she is so huge. But while I was waiting for her, because we were filmed by her crew, and I wasn't allowed to record the interview with my phone, they sent me the audio they thought was okay.
Oh, really?
Because she is completely like loose-lipped, but in a fabulous way.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't really filter what she's going to say. So I think they do the filtering afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was standing in her studio, and this guy on a megaphone was going, "Dolly about to enter the room, 5 seconds, Dolly walking down the corridor." And there was like an ongoing kind of chat about where Dolly was. And then she appeared, and she does look absolutely incredible. She is almost looks like a piece of sunshine. She is absolutely tiny. So her waist was, she was
mini.
in a corset.
Oh my
she was
God.
in a mini like corset with netting over the boobs and massive skyscraper heels. So someone was holding on to her, because I think walking in these heels is total nightmare. But yeah, we sat down, and she was like, "What are we talking about today?" And she was holding my hand, and I was like, "Oh my God, Dolly Parton's touching me."
That actually, you know what? I think I'm trying to think of anyone who I'd be Dolly Parton would be up there.
She was amazing. And then in the interview, I think she was sort of, they did like kind of keep guiding her on what we were supposed to be talking about. And she said to me halfway through, "Should we just leave and get a girls' chat with a cocktail?" And I was thinking, please, Dolly, you can make this happen.
Oh my God,
I thought,
that's amazing.
what if she takes me back to the ranch and I'm sitting in her kitchen, like having a margarita?
Unbelievable.
God, it would have been bliss.
And what about with the Osbournes at their house in Beverly Hills?
So Sharon was a columnist for Closer at the time. So I was out in LA covering the Oscars, and her agent at the time said, "Why don't you just go round to the house and interview her in Beverly Hills?" So I thought, wow, that would be quite exciting, going round to the house of the Osbournes.
Yeah.
And it was exactly what you'd expect. Very opulent, massive columns as you came in. Sharon took me into this amazing room with a grand piano, and there were family photos everywhere of all their family holidays. And it was just so funny seeing kind of, they had about 1 billion chihuahuas, and Sharon explained that because there were so many dogs, they had their separate house, which was down the other end of the garden.
Oh my God.
And they had someone whose sole job, I think, was to look after all the chihuahuas.
That's my worst nightmare.
Who constantly pooped
Picking
everywhere.
Up shit. Can you imagine?
But I look back on it fondly because Sharon is again a total powerhouse and an amazing person. She's really inspirational. She is someone who is feisty and has no filter. So, I mean, she's got the best gossip ever. But yeah, in a way, it's sad because I remember Ozzy as well. And he was in the house when we did the interview, and he was asking Sharon about something in the kitchen while we were there, and he was in a dressing gown.
God, you've really met amazing people to actually travel as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've been really lucky. I mean, back in the day as well, it was a lot of traveling.
But does it still happen now? Would you get flown around to interview certain people, or is that just not really a thing anymore?
Yeah, I still do. I mean, I did Nashville quite recently with Dolly. But yeah, I mean, these opportunities come up, and I think that's one of the biggest perks of the job because you get to see incredible things.
Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah, that was a weird story. I
think, whenever anyone mentions his name, it tends to be a weird story. I've heard some very weird stories.
Yeah, no, that was a weird one. I was covering the BAFTAs and I was on the red carpet. I was with my friend, who's another journalist, and she said, right now we've got to just try and crash the backstage area. And we were only doing red carpet interviews. So we saw that people were going in through this door. And I headed to the door, and I was wearing a ball dress, and this guy grabbed me and he said, you've got to come through now. Your person's just coming off the stage. And they mistook me for John Boyega's agent.
Oh my God.
He's the Star Wars actor. And I had no idea what they were talking about, but I was like, excellent. So they were grabbing me by the arm and pulling me into a backstage area. So then John comes off the stage, I think, from receiving an award, and they lead him to me.
It's like that scene in Notting Hill when he's pretending from some Horse and Hound, Hugh Grant.
But he was obviously thinking, who is this? And I was like, hi, David. I didn't even know his name, and I called him David. And then I think he was really confused and he just walked off somewhere. But I was left in this area, which was where everyone was coming off the stage, and no one told me to leave. So I was like, well, I might as well just stay here. And then about 15 minutes later, Tom Cruise and Leonardo DiCaprio both came off the stage together. And they were just milling around. And I thought, oh my God, I've got 10 seconds to decide who to go and talk to. And I can only talk to one.
Leo.
If I'm going to get started. Yeah, so I had that awful mental decision to make. I was thinking Tom Cruise or Leo. But then I was like, it's Tom Cruise for me, because when I was growing up, I was obsessed with all the Tom Cruise movies. He was the most A-list actor of all time for me. Tom Cruise has got star power beyond anyone. And I was like, I'm going to have to let Leo go. And I went up to Tom. And I just started talking to him, and he was so friendly and just chatted away, totally fine with the whole thing.
Really?
And he asked me if I was going to an after party. And I was thinking, no, please take me with you. But yeah, it was a difficult decision to make.
But do you think bigger celebs like that are more down to earth than the sort of minor celebs? I had this conversation with someone who was saying how and I can only say this because I'm a washed up one, but reality stars think they're like Beyonce and are actually quite rude to certain people, whereas you actually meet someone probably like Beyonce and they're charming and more down to earth.
I think there's a professionalism that comes from being an A-lister.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the A-listers are really schooled, especially the American ones, in the fact that you are in this position because people love you and idolize you. And I think when they meet journalists, they know that you're a mouthpiece to go back to those fans.
Yeah.
So even if they're in a bad mood, someone like Tom Cruise is a perfect example. Even if he got off a terrible flight or was in a terrible mood, he would never, ever upset anyone.
Yeah.
He is so charming, and he's known for going to premieres early before when he does films in London and just spending 5 hours in Leicester Square meeting all his fans.
Really?
Like, they give so much back.
Yeah.
So then I guess it is strange when you meet like someone from Love Island and they might be just totally dismissive, and you think, well,
how dare you? Go and do 5 Mission Impossible films, mate, and come back to me, yeah.
But I remember Simon Cowell once said to me, the thing is, you need to be as nice to the people on the way up because you're going to meet them on the way down. And I think most people who are in this industry keep that in the back of their mind.
Yeah, because they've lasted in it for a reason. No, because it's the same. Like, because I've noticed it with different people I've done different shows with. You notice that actually, like, I've had conversations with certain producers, to be honest with you, who said they categorically will not work with certain people because of how rude they were years ago on their day one, which is fair enough. Obviously, the biggest band to ever come out of the X Factor, One Direction, Harry Styles.
So my story about them is that I went to X Factor to the filming because I was doing some interviews, I think probably with Simon afterwards. And after X Factor was filmed, they always have an after party in the back in a room.
Yeah.
So all the people competing to be the winner all mill around. And I remember first meeting One Direction when they were 15. So they were all on a sofa together.
They were 15 then.
They were so young, and they looked so young because they were very boyish, like very young looking. And I remember sitting with them on the sofa, and they all had their mums because they needed chaperones at that stage. They were that young. And I suppose most of them were still full on at school.
Yeah.
So I remember thinking, gosh, I really should talk to these guys because they might be a big thing.
Might be.
But then I thought, I'm kind of talking to a bunch of teenagers. I don't really know what to say to them. So I kind of left it because it was a bit weird talking to someone with their mum as well.
Yeah.
Then anyway, they became global superstars. And a couple of years later, I remember seeing Harry Styles at the GQ Awards, and he was just by the bar by himself and he wasn't with anyone. But he was still in that sort of, obviously he hadn't been a solo star then. He was still quite young and naive, and he was so sweet. And I don't think he was allowed a drink because I don't think he was over 18. And I just think sometimes it's sweet because, again, like I was saying about seeing these people go on their journeys.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know what is going to happen. I mean, I would never have guessed from meeting this young kid
that they were going to be the biggest.
And also the most fancied person on the planet. Like,
I know.
I meet girls and they say, have you ever met Harry Styles? And I'm like, yeah. And then they're like fainting.
No, people go wild. My For You page is covered in him.
But like he is now a hunk. Back then it was
He's a little teenager.
He was just a little teenager.
No, I mean they are, yeah. I think they have to be one of the biggest. Are they doing a reunion? I know he's made like pearl necklaces cool.
He's wearing a pearl necklace.
Who?
Is Harry.
Yeah, he was wearing one once, and then I showed up at filming and half the fucking cast, all the blokes were wearing pearl necklaces, and I was like, something's going on here? But no, he's iconic actually. But let's think of a decent, not breakups, but okay, maybe we do breakups. Any predictions for the rest of this year? Any actually savage one? Do you think there are going to be any big divorces?
I'm trying to think. I mean, I don't want to be a doom bearer, but one of the big splits that has just happened today, actually, is Jacqueline Jossa and Dan Osborne. And I was thinking, because we were talking earlier about Jeff Brazier being the hottest granddad in the world, maybe Jacqueline and Jeff.
That's really sad.
And then they would be JJ.
JJ. That's really sad that they've broken up. They've had issues in the past, haven't they? With like,
I think it's been a bit of a roller coaster. But yes, I think it's officially over. So,
oh my God,
she's back in the market.
And wait, how do you know that? Is someone notified? Have they released that, or someone's told you?
It's been reported today.
Really? So has it already been written up about then?
Yeah.
I always wonder that as well, like when you're going through a split, not how long one leaves it, but like the reason why you obviously don't say anything for a while to really figure it out. But like, do you think there are people that have not been together, but at this moment in time are very much saving face and look like they're together?
I think so. I mean, I think sometimes with the reality stars, it's kind of keeping them in the limelight. I think it's much more powerful to be part of a couple than oh, it's a bit depressing.
The being single.
Almost single. If you're with another celebrity, I think there's lots more kind of scope
Yeah.
for things in a way.
Are you jet setting to travel to see anyone remarkable in the next couple of weeks, months? Anything exciting coming up?
Well, I think I'm not going personally, but we are sending a reporter out to Mallorca because I think the new season of Love Island might be happening.
Oh, yeah. I always forget they do the summer season and it is Mallorca.
Also, I do want to go out to LA again soon.
Can I come?
I have a feeling like I might have to do sort of an insider's guide to Montecito.
Yes.
Maybe get Oprah and Meghan involved.
Yeah. I'll come, honestly.
Yeah, should we just
Let's
have
do the
some-
live podcast, Private Parts with Meghan Markle. Where can anyone find you? What's your Instagram?
My Instagram is @BanksyLife, and Closer magazine can be bought anywhere.
Anywhere. Make sure you're buying it if you're traveling, if you're sitting. I love Closer magazine.
Grab a copy.
This has been amazing. Thank you very much, Kate.
Thanks for having me.